I was tired of watching other people's lives on the internet and feeling shitty about mine, so I chose to make this video because here is how you can stop. And also, here's how to understand what it's telling you and what you actually are yearning for. So, long story short, I was in Lululemon yesterday and I actually ended up running into a YouTuber named Makari who has a YouTube channel all about, failing and doing things, and it's kind of like self-help, but also with a happiness spin to it. And we didn't chat for too long, but essentially I went home and I was watching some of her YouTube videos and I was thinking, shit, like I actually really like these. They make me feel happy. She kind of gives you steps to overcome your fears. She kind of breaks things down in a more systematic way. And previously I was watching a YouTuber, Hitomi Mochizuki's videos, which are much more vlog-like. She does kind of share vulnerably like her creative practices. But there was something about watching her videos and how aesthetically pleasing they were that I found this like thing going on inside of me that was feeling like a bit of a failure, or my life is not as beautiful as hers, my life doesn't look like hers, and I must be doing something wrong. And I was watching some of her shots that she takes, and she's, like in a white dress swimming through the water, and it's so beautiful, like a little mermaid. And I have all of these wet dreams for myself. Like she's living like a little fairy nymph, and in my head, I am a little fairy nymph. And part of me had this question of like, oh my God, am I not doing my life right? Or am I not taking enough chances because my life doesn't look like hers? And there was something very real for me that I needed to develop, and I needed kind of a day of, I guess, like running away from it or holding it in my head. But that's why I want to make this video. And I think especially as a woman on YouTube, there's so much content about vlogs and people sharing, here's what a day in my life looks like, or I tried cycling for 30 days so that you don't have to. It's almost so easy to become a passive consumer on YouTube where you don't even realize that you're getting this like low level dopamine rush through watching other people live their lives, but then in the safety of your home, and you don't have to make yourself uncomfortable, or you don't have to go through the ucky yicky disgusting process of being a beginner and not knowing what the fuck you're doing to actually do something that you're curious about. But actually living that way makes you feel more disempowered, more depressed, and more sad because you're living your life through consuming someone else's. So let's fucking stop. Let's understand why we do this, or let's understand why we're drawn to watching some people's videos. And if we feel this envy in ourselves, don't shy away from it. The envy is telling you something important, but if you want to change your life, you have to change something. So you have to change something by doing. So if you're just hoping to watch this video and then you'll continue with business as usual, no, we don't want that. Now, without going too much into a deep storytelling time, I think, side note, that if you're on a date with someone and you both, have watched YouTube in your lives, you should actually ask them what YouTube they watched when they were growing up, or what YouTubers they were drawn to. I feel like it reveals a lot about somebody in terms of like, what's your YouTube algorithm? Why does nobody talk about this? I got sucked into this like bodybuilding vlogging culture when I was younger because I was dealing with body dysmorphia and an eating disorder and many of these things. So I was watching all of these like quote unquote fit and really muscular girls on YouTube show me what they were eating in a day and their workouts. And mind you, like, yes, of course I consumed these because I wanted to take that information and implement it into my life. But there was also a period of time where, of course they do brand deals with athletic stores, or they make their own clothing brand, and then it's just another way to loop you into becoming a consumer and buying their products because your brain thinks that if you buy what they use, you're gonna look like them and be great. And it just never fucking works like that. Like, we really need to get our heads out of that ass circuit. I grew up watching a lot of that, so I have that experience of being sucked into vlogs and feeling really disempowered after, and almost kind of like ashamed of my own life, that it doesn't look like theirs or that I'm not doing enough. And I think that that can be such a debilitating feeling. And I don't want to villainize that feeling. I just want to be able to make more clear the more full circle process where that feeling of envy or shame or disempowerment is still a part of this larger journey where we can figure out more information about ourselves and then actually strategically implement, small changes to make our lives better and to make us feel like we are chasing our curiosities and we're doing things that make us feel uncomfortable, and ultimately that we're living, authentic lives to ourselves. Now, something that I do want to name that I honestly forget, but it's really important for your brain, is something called the comparison trap. We're inundated with information on the internet of people's finished products and not actually the process, which honestly is all anything is. Life is just a very large process. And I am not exempt from falling into this. I do this all the time where I see people that are doing things that I've wanted to do that maybe I've started, but I've only done it 4 times, but they've done it way more than me. And now look, they're amazing and they have a podcast with their dad, and I wanted to have a podcast with my dad. Or they took up sewing and now look, they're sewing a bikini, whereas I just took one course and then stopped doing it, and I'm a fucking loser because I can't actually do these things that you can do. So the comparison trap, you need to remind yourself that it is so easy, and people are not doing this because they're bad, but it's so easy to share the finished product because I think as humans, we're also wired to feel accomplished, and usually that looks like tying something in a bow and being done with it and moving on. But I feel really badly, and we have heard from people in positions of quote unquote success, however you want to define that, that have said, I wish I didn't put so much emphasis on just like buying that house or being able to afford this thing or to travel to that place, because I totally negated the process and I wasn't present and I didn't enjoy it. So when I think about me even, making YouTube videos and how silly I feel because they're bad and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I have to remind myself that I can't hold myself to the standard of someone else's finished product that has suffered through the process for years and I'm just starting. Like, don't compare yourself to someone that's just not in the same journey as you. And I also think really quickly to mention why you might feel shitty watching someone else's videos or someone else's vlog of them actually doing things and being uncomfortable and failing and falling, and why that's kind of exciting or feels good in our bodies, because us as humans have energy inside of us. We accumulate stories, we accumulate emotions, we accumulate thoughts, stress, all of those things we accumulate. And if we don't have any place to put it, I think that we end up starting to go insane, or our mental health decreases. We're depressed, we're anxious, we're sad. That's why so many people, or maybe it's just my algorithm, are talking about creativity on YouTube, because I think people are realizing like, I need a way to express myself, otherwise I'm going to go insane. That's why people talk about the importance of exercise and moving your body. It's all about dispersing energy that you accumulate. And so why we like to watch other people's videos is because we are looking for an outlet to disperse our energy. We want to be creative, or we want to move our bodies, and we want to do something with our lives, but often we get stuck into this trap where it's easier to just be entertained. That's why the movie industry and the entertainment industry makes so much money. That's why it's so much easier when you've had like a long day. The thing that you want to do is watch a movie and turn your brain off. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a place and a time for that. It's important to have those moments where you like just give yourself time to rest. But I think if you are too often preoccupied with that as the way to release energy, you're going to find that it doesn't work. Okay, so let's quickly finish off on what you can do. How do you build more self-awareness in yourself to understand what a person, place, or thing is telling you about what you want? And also, I think the question is really like, how can you just not feel like shit from watching other people live their lives? Plain and simple. And so something that I am starting to tune more into is after I consume something or I watch something, how do I feel? Do I feel inspired? Do I feel envious? Do I feel small? And also, where is that in my body? Is it kind of just like a general feeling? Does my chest feel super tight? Do I have a headache? Does my stomach feel off? Do I feel really jittery? That's information to help you figure out whether or not there are fears going on inside of you or whether you're just genuinely really excited and passionate about something. Something that I also like to tune into is, am I watching something to avoid a feeling, or am I watching something because I'm genuinely trying to honor a curiosity? And both of those things can kind of dance together scarily close. So don't be hard on yourself if you're not sure. Like, these are questions that I think you have to ask yourself over multiple experiences, different times to, start to unravel them and what they mean a little bit more. And I also want to say that if you can name how something made you feel, like let's say that you found out that someone around you wrote a book or they're starting a business, and maybe you have some negative thoughts of like, oh, you're a fucking loser, you want to do that, and now it's too late because someone else is doing that, or see, like, this is more reason why you stink. I don't know. The point is that if you feel envious is a desire wearing an uncomfortable cloak. So that's something that I'm trying to remind myself when I see these YouTubers that say, oh, like I've written a children's book or I've written a book. Like, I feel envious and I feel jealous. Makari has written a children's book and I felt envious because something that I have wanted to do is to write a book. And it's not from a clout, oh, get my name out there way. It's more just that I think that there's something important inside of me that I want to say, but I have no idea how to express it. But also, don't compare yourself to somebody else's timeline. Like, it's okay. And also the fact that she wrote a book and you're feeling a certain way about it, that's a good thing. That's information. So maybe jot that down in terms of, yeah, like, I do want to write a book. It's important to know the things that you want to do and to write them down. Do you want to, like, I want to start a podcast with my dad, or I want to reignite the podcast with my dad. I want to write a children's book. I do want to make YouTube videos and experiment and just find my way. It's important for you to name the things that you're feeling called towards, but then, I mean, this is a conversation for another time, but then also to kind of break down what the process can look like for you to start achieving those things. If you just get stuck in the like, oh, I haven't done this and I suck, you're not going to move anywhere. And so then the last thing that I want to get to is actions. So we need to make this easy for ourselves. I call it low-hanging fruit, as you've probably heard elsewhere. What is like the smallest, easiest thing that you can do that starts you on the trajectory of your goal? Let's say that you're watching a fitness vlogger and you're like, holy shit, I feel so bad, I don't look like them. Well, what's something that you could do? Maybe you could go for a run outside for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then you've done something. Do you want to write a book? Okay, why don't you just like free write 3 pages in your journal? Oh, do you want to start making YouTube videos? Why don't you try and make like a really shitty YouTube video about this literal conversation and just post it on the internet and say, fuck it, whatever, What is one small tangible action that you can do that slowly gets you towards your goal? And also, can we just acknowledge things being shitty and bad in their infancy and just normalize failing and normalize things not being amazing? But that's the only way that you ever figure anything out. When I see community organizers in the place that I live saying, oh my gosh, now I'm running a camp and a retreat on this island and it's a bunch of girls getting together to build friendships and do all these things. Part of me is like, fuck, like, I really want to do that. I want to bring people together. I want to build community in the place that I live. I want to dismantle capitalism in a grassroots organizing way. I can't start shitting on myself because these people started from scratch with probably 3 people in their basement, all just, maybe doing a book club or something. And now it's been scaled to something where there's more awareness, but you'll never get there unless you start. So don't even start putting the expectation that your thing has to be big and amazing and it has to look like other people's. You have to get yourself into the mindset of like, I'm going to start small, I'm going to start shitty, and it's going to be like so embarrassing, but at least I'm doing something. That is the only way that momentum happens. So let's just reality check ourselves, and I hope that this video was helpful for you in slightly pulling yourself out of a rut. If you feel like I didn't name some things that have been really helpful for you, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And don't compare yourself to me, to anybody else. This is about you and your life. So ask yourself these questions. Try and like lean into your curiosity where your intuition is going, and don't be afraid of envy and jealousy. They are part of the fucking process. I'll see you in my next videos. Bye.